Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. We're so glad you're here. Last week in February, this year is flying by. We're pretty much a sixth done with 2023. This week starts our revival meetings here at Faith Baptist Church, which we're excited about to have Brother Savinsky, dear friend of mine for many years. So if you are available, come on out. I'm sure you will enjoy the time. If not, watch it through our Facebook page or YouTube and join in with our services this week. But we have been in the book of 2 Samuel. Last week, we talked about Mephibosheth and how David showed kindness to him because of his promise to Jonathan. Yes, he let him eat at his table for the different meals. So that was in 2 Samuel chapter 9. So this week, we'll pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 10. Good job, Peter. 10 comes after 9. So David is going to fight the Ammonites. He's going to fight against them. Well, except he wasn't really planning to go to war. David actually is going to show something kind, do a kind gesture, and it's going to be misread. And it's going to lead to a war. All because he started out doing something that was kind. So let's look at verse number 1. And it came to pass after this that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. Then said David, I will show kindness unto Hanun the son of Nahash, as his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servants for his father, and David's servants came into the land of the children of Ammon. So David finds out that the king died, and this was a king who had shown him kindness, so he wanted to return the favor. He wants to show him kindness. So he sends his servants to go comfort and to encourage thanks, Peter, to comfort and encourage him in the loss of his dad. Well, when the servants go, and they do just that, they go to comfort, well, Hanun has some friends who aren't too wise. We'll just leave it at that. And they tell Hanun, they're like, hey, they're not here to comfort you. They're here to spy. They've come to check out the city. They've just come so David can see your weaknesses and he can attack. Well, boys and girls, is that what the Bible tells us? No, that's not what the Bible tells us. He didn't send the men for that purpose. So who do you think Hanun's going to believe? David's servants? Although I kind of gave it away in the introduction. David's servants or his friends? Yeah, he's going to believe his friends. That's right, Peter. And he embarrasses the men. The Bible tells us in verse number 4 that he embarrasses them by shaving off half their beards and cutting their clothes and just shaming them and embarrassing them. Well, they go, that's right, Peter, lost their beards, part of them. They go back and they're too embarrassed to go right to David. The servants are too embarrassed. They're like, we can't go with half our beards missing. I mean, that'd be pretty embarrassing, right, boys and girls? If we saw someone missing half their beard, we'd kind of stare too, huh? And then we'd know we shouldn't stare, so we'd look away, but they were embarrassed. So David goes and he actually sees them. He goes and he seeks them out. He says, I know you're embarrassed. You don't have to. Let's read verse 5. When they told it unto David, he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. So David, he meets with them, and boys and girls, he'd done something kind, and then the king returns him with this shame, this reproach, and it's not going to go good. Well, the word gets back to Hanun I wanted to read you the verse where it uses the word stank. But the servants told David what had happened. Verse 6, and when the children of Ammon saw that they stank before David, I'm with sixth graders all the time. They would be laughing right now at this. Before David, the children of Ammon sent and hired the Syrians of Bethahab and the Syrians of Zobah 20,000 footmen, and of King Maacah 1,000 men, and of Ishtab 12,000 men. So word gets back to the Ammonite people, and they find out, oh boy, we made a mistake. We did something wrong. We embarrassed some people we shouldn't have embarrassed, and we shouldn't have done that. So now they're nervous, like, oh great, now we've started something, and now it's going to be a war, now it's going to be a battle. And so he goes out and he hires people to come and to fight for him. Okay, 20,000 Syrian footmen, and then of another group of Assyrians, 1,000, and then 12,000 men from Ishtab. He gathers all these people and he says, will you go with us to fight King David and the Israelites? Well, David gets news of this. He finds out and he sends Joab and all of his mighty men. He says, all right, go out to battle. Well, as this battle is setting up, verse 8, and the children of Ammon came out and put the battle in array at the entering in of the gate, and the Syrians of Zobah and of Rahab and Ishtab and Maacah were by themselves in the field. So you've got a group that's by the gate and you've got a group that's out in the field. Basically, this puts Joab and his mighty men in the middle. They've got enemies in front of them, they've got enemies behind them. And they have to figure out, what are we going to do with enemies in front and enemies behind? Well, Joab decides that he's going to split his group into two, and his brother Abishai is going to take half the people and he's going to take half. And they're going to fight essentially out because the enemy is on both sides of them. And then he says, if you're winning, then send some men over to help me. If I'm winning, I'll send some men over to help you. And they decide that they're going to work together. Do you think it's a good idea, boys and girls, to work together? It sure is. When you help one another and you're on the same team and you're encouraging one another, boys and girls, you can do a whole lot more. If you argue and fight and you don't work together with the people around you, it makes it a lot harder. Well, they work together. Verse 12 says, be of good courage and let us play the men of our people and for the cities of our God, and the Lord do that which it seemeth him good. He challenges the people, like, be of good courage. We are going to do what God wants us to do. We're going to be mighty men. We're going to fight, and God's going to do what God thinks is good. Boys and girls, do you think God is going to take care of his people? Yeah, I think so too, Peter. God's going to look out for his people. Even though they're surrounded, they've got an enemy in front and an enemy behind. God never left his people. God is there with Joab. Well, when the Ammonites retreat, the Syrians decide to retreat too. The Syrians fled before Joab. Joab is just conquering them and they're retreating. The Ammonites retreat. When the Syrians realize, that's right, Joab was strong, so was his brother Abishai. When the Syrians realize they're being conquered, they retreat and they gather more men. Well, David gathers more men as well. Verse 18, on the next page for me. And the Syrians fled before Israel, and David slew the men of 700 chariots of the Syrians and 40,000 horsemen, and smote Shobach, the captain of their host, who died there. Verse 19. And when all the kings that were servants to Hadarezer saw that they were smitten before Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Syrians feared to help the children of Ammon anymore. David came out powerful because God was with him, boys and girls. God is seeing over the children of Israel and he's taking care of them. So even though David's kindness got mistaken, God hadn't forsaken his people. God had a plan, and God used Joab and his brother working together to accomplish his will. Boys and girls, whatever you do this week, whatever job is given to you, even if it's just being in a classroom with people, that's your job, to sit in a classroom. Get along with them, work together, don't cheat, okay? This is not an advertisement for cheating, okay? But when it comes to getting in line or picking up or cleaning the classroom, work together. And if your teacher lets you do a group project, lets you work on something together, work at getting along. Don't just fight over it or make it difficult. Whether you're at home and mom and dad ask you to do a task, or whether you're at school or church, boys and girls, I hope this week you'll work together and show kindness to those around you.